Okay, so our guest tonight, I was talked into this. I was made to do it by the staff. Actually, I was just made to do it by Candace, that's all. So tonight, as if anybody didn't know that already, tonight I am the guest host. I'm not the guest, I'm the guest.
You're just the guest.
I'm just the guest. Candace is the guest host, I guess, right?
Yes, I am the guest host.
Yes,
Hi,
so-
welcome to Life Lessons with Lane.
Yes. With Lane. With Lane.
With Lane.
So, anyway, she's going to ask questions. And here's the thing. I don't know if you know, but whenever I have a guest in here, which is most Wednesdays, we've been doing this since the 1st of September. And there have been two or three Wednesdays that I just kind of gave a study or whatever. I guess three. There have been three. And so all the rest of them I've had a guest. And all of those guests, except for maybe Mark, I didn't print it out for him. I have sent them an email that told them where to go, what time to be here, how to dress, all that kind of, what the format was like and all that kind of stuff. And in there, I always put, it's going to be a conversational style. I'm just going to ask questions, you're going to answer them and that kind of stuff. And here are some of the questions that I will be asking. And I give them a heads up so that they'll know. But then, of course, in the midst of our conversation, I might ask something random off the cuff or whatever. That's kind of how it goes. If you've ever watched, that's true. I was not given the same courtesy. I have no idea what is coming. And so if I stutter or sputter or whatever, and Candace, as an evil queen, does not edit that out, it's because I had no advance warning.
Can we laugh?
So, huh?
Can we laugh at your discomfort?
You can laugh as long as you don't mind me preaching at you this coming Sunday.
Oh.
So, I preach at you most every Sunday anyway, right? So. Okay, all right. So Candace, this is your show now. So you do this how you want to do it. Where's my water? You're supposed to give me a water.
Oh, no, I failed as a host already.
Okay, we're calling it off.
Okay. No.
Okay, what we got? Go ahead.
All right. First, we have more questions than we can manage.
I can talk fast, but yeah, just pick out whichever ones you want.
So we're going to go with the good ones.
Okay.
Or actually, they're all good. Some I'm going to leave for you to actually use to do a study on.
Oh, okay.
Because some of them were deep.
Oh, they're going to ask me questions about Bible stuff?
Some.
Oh, gosh. Now,
Yeah.
that really makes me nervous then.
Well, no.
Because I've told you all that before. Like, that's one of my big fears, hey, preacher, I got a question for you. Oh, gosh, because I'm the preacher. I'm supposed to know everything, right?
Yes.
Yeah, it doesn't happen. But anyway, okay, all right, go ahead.
Okay, all right. So this is one of my favorite. If pastors had walk-up music like baseball players, what would yours be?
Oh, my goodness. A lot of pastors do. Well, I don't want to say a lot, but some do. Mm-hmm. Especially in the church growth movement, especially when you were in the 90s. Oh, but gosh, I don't know. What would mine be?
Yeah.
Oh, gosh. I'm failing right from the get-go. Because
Oh,
I don't
know.
I've never even thought about that. That would be more embarrassing than anything else. Like, I was just telling people last night, I don't crave attention. I get enough of it as it is. So I don't need that kind. Oh, gosh. I could make some jokes here, but y'all, I don't think they would be appreciated.
Do you need a pass?
What now?
You need a pass?
Yeah. I'm thinking like
We can circle back to it if we need to.
I'm thinking Back in Black. That'd be great. I would really like Back in Black. I do believe, even though I don't wear black to church very much, but that would be funny though. Yeah, we might have to come back to that.
All right, we'll circle back. No worries. All right. Who has had the biggest influence on your life?
Like anybody?
Like anybody.
Well, it would only make sense to say my wife, right? Other than Jesus, okay? So I know the spiritual thing, you gotta say Jesus.
Yeah.
But I've lived with her for 31 years, and we dated for 4 years before that. How can you How could you not say that? That it wouldn't make sense to think anybody else. You know?
Okay.
So
Good answer.
I mean,
yeah.
it is a good
Well,
answer.
and I mean I'm not trying to stroke her because she's probably not watching. She's probably like, oh, please don't. So, but yeah, I mean it would have to be her. I don't know that there would even be a close second. You know, I mean there are people you read and you listen to and you hang out with and that kind of stuff, and they influence you. You know, I was raised by my mama. My grandmother had a huge influence on my life, just knowing who she was and all that. But there's no way to compete with 31 years in the same household. So
Valid. Okay. All right. This one's a little bit deep.
okay, oh goodness.
Okay. Do you fear dying, or will you be accepting of it because you know you're going to heaven?
Okay, it is a good question. So, and it's funny you say that because I think about that a good bit, and I've been thinking about that a lot lately. I think that it has helped, and it's not because I don't think that I fear dying. Now, that's easy to say when I don't feel like I am.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
How you die is not a fun thought, but dying, no, it doesn't bother me. But it's not because I'm like some super spiritual, inhuman kind of person. It's because I've done so many. I think it has helped that I have done so many funerals, and I say a lot of the same kinds of things at those funerals, and I know that it's right. And I know that I'm not just blowing smoke when I get up and I talk about someone who has passed away, especially when we're talking about heaven and those kind of things. And so I think the fact that I believe it, but also because I have been around it so much, that there's a familiarity with it. Kind of like, I haven't been nothing like somebody who works at a funeral home, but somebody like that, when they are dealing with death all the time, your mind just automatically grapples with it and comes to rest with it. And so sometimes it could be not only for mine, but I could also might be seen as cold to others who are facing it because I'm so convinced,
Right.
And I also just know. I mean, it's like, what are you going to do if you don't? I mean, if you don't, you're going to die anyway. So you might as well go ahead and make peace with it.
Right.
So anyway.
Okay. All right. What is your go-to comfort food after a long Sunday?
Chocolate.
Yeah, chocolate's not a bad answer. But I don't really think that I have I've heard that term used. I don't think I have one, a comfort food, because there's nothing that like just makes me. There's nothing that I eat. I'm like, oh, now everything's fine in my life. There's nothing like that. But I'd like to go out to eat after Sunday.
Okay.
So there's not a particular food, but I like going anywhere. I like going to Five Spot or Mexican or all the places that we go. I just like to go out to eat. Of course, I like to go out to eat in general, but especially after church for some reason, I just like it.
Okay. All right. What is the hardest part of being a pastor? Yeah, tough one.
I don't know that I could pinpoint the single hardest without thinking about it for a while. Part of it did come up last night. Last night we had a Sleep in Heavenly Peace leadership meeting, and so I'm on the leadership team for that. And they were laughing because we were talking about a certain. It doesn't matter. We were talking, and one of the people in there started laughing. And it's like, well, it's hard to do that because with Sleep in Heavenly Peace, you can't make them do that because you only have volunteers. And I said, tell me about it. For 31 years, everything that you do is to a large degree dependent upon volunteers following or doing for you, like in your
Right.
place when you don't know how to do something and you expect other people to step up to the plate. That there's a large amount of it that is out of my control, and we all like to have control over that kind of stuff. So
Yes.
It would be easier if I paid everybody and be like, okay, get out, or I'm cutting your pay or whatever. Or I get to tell you what to do. You just don't. You don't have that, and so. So yeah, I think that would be the hardest part for me. There are some people it's just natural for them to inspire fellowship and those kind of things. I'm not. Nobody's going to be around me and be like, "Oh, I'm so inspired. I'm going to do whatever he says." I mean, I don't have that kind of personality. So that's the most difficult for me.
Okay. All right. What is your favorite book of the Bible and why?
I do love Genesis. I love Genesis because I had one of the best classes of my entire life was led by Wayne Van Horn. He was a pastor of he was a professor of Old Testament at New Orleans Seminary. He's since gone on to pastor, but we went through Genesis, and I've never been enthralled as much as I was in his class. You give him a passage, you can talk about any passage at all, and he'll start talking about this is what it said in Aramaic, this is what it was like in Hebrew, this is what the Latin said, this is what the Greek translation said, and he'll go through all that, and you're just dumbfounded with how, and he just brought out so much that I could never have seen on my own, and so I do love Genesis. I do love Revelation. I don't. That's just been in the last couple of years. Because it finally made sense to me. Yeah.
Follow-up question.
Okay.
So if you looked at the different language translations, are they that different?
No, but somebody once said that words don't have meaning, they have usages. And different translations. You just look at the New American Standard, which is what I use, and the English Standard Version or the King James Version or whatever. They'll use different words, and those different words are going to help you. Oh yeah, I get it. I see what that means. Yes, that's why I believe in reading out of different translations, because it gives you a fuller picture. So the same thing is true when you're looking at the Latin Vulgate or the Hebrew text or whatever, because different people translate it different ways, and it just gives you a fuller picture of what you're looking at.
Okay.
So.
Well, that's a great segue to the next question.
Okay.
What is your favorite translation of the Bible?
New American Standard.
Why?
It's got to be. Why? Mm-hmm. Oh, gosh. Okay, so I already knew what I was going to be doing in 10th grade, right? Well, I had a King James version of the Bible in 10th grade. Nothing wrong at all in the world with King James. It's nothing wrong. I mean, like, I understood King James when I was in 5th grade. Like, who does that? That's like a foreign language, right?
Yeah, it is.
So I didn't have a problem in the world, but I thought, you know what? If I'm going to, and so my Bible was like this. It was like this one is right here. It's, pages falling out and all that kind of stuff. And so I had to get a new Bible, and I thought, if I'm going to get a new Bible, now would be the time to change translations if I'm going to. I wasn't sold on it, but I was just willing to. And so, as much study as a 10th grader could look into that, I thought, if somebody will tell me what it said, which means I want the closest translation to what the original said. I don't want what this translation said, that this translation said, that this translation said, that takes it back to the original. I wanted to bypass all that. What tells me most closely what the original one said? And I kind of made a deal with God, which you're not supposed to do, but I made a deal with God. I said, if you'll show me which one is closest to what it said, I will do my best to study what it means. And so, as much studying as I could, as a 10th grader could look into something like that, I became convinced that the New American Standard did the best job of doing that. Now, if there was another translation that I found would do a better job of doing that, I would change today. I would do that. But since that time, I have taken Greek, I have taken Hebrew, I've looked into all the translation stuff. I've taken classes. Well, I don't know that classes really delved into that, but they may have touched on it. I still believe that the New American Standard does the best job of accurately and with the ability to make sense, translate what the original said.
Okay.
And so that's why I like it.
Very good. Okay. All right. So what's your go-to karaoke song?
Karaoke. There ain't no one. There's not. I don't do karaoke.
Okay.
Back in black.
Yeah. We'll go back to Back in Black. I have never done karaoke in my entire life.
So it's fun.
All right. So I know
Isn't-
that
Oh, never.
I know that you sing though, right?
If you can call it that, sure.
So which part would you sing?
Depends on what you mean by that.
Like if you were in the choir.
If I was in the choir,
Uh-huh.
I would sing whatever part needed the most help.
Okay.
That's what I would do. I used to sing them all, and I'm not saying I was great at it. That's just what I did. And so, and in fact, I think I mentioned it on Sunday morning. Used to. I know you're supposed to, pay attention, and I should have. Okay, so I'm evil. Like stone me, whatever. So whenever we would sing hymns, it was traditional, and so you sang at least 3 of them, right? If not all 4 verses. Mm-hmm. So you sang at least 3 of them. So I would start out by singing the tenor, and then I would sing the bass, and then I would jump up and sing the alto part. And if the alto was too high, I was just singing an octave lower, but I was going to sing that part. And so that's, and you got to remember, my dad was a choral teacher.
Right.
My mom, musically, she actually taught chorus too in middle school, but that's at the junior high, but I wasn't at her school. And so, very, very musical family. And so, my dad, when I was sitting under him in chorus, he actually taught how to sight read. That was part of what he did. That's why he was so good. And so I would put that to practice and all that kind of stuff. So I would sing them all. And so if I jumped in the choir today, I would sing whatever part needed the most help.
So would you consider singing in the choir?
Yeah, I've told Mark before. Now it's been a few years, but I told Mark early on. If he needed me, and of course I was better then too. I'm out of practice, but if he needed help in the men's section, if he would tell me, I would go in before Sunday morning and I would sight read as best I could, whatever the song was, and I'd sing with him. Okay. He never took me up on that because he probably was like, yeah, I've had that offer before. It never turned out well. So I don't blame him. But so yeah, I mean, I would consider it, but it would just. It's one of those things. As the preacher, it'd have to be on my terms because I've got other stuff going on. I did the same thing. I did the same thing in my last church. It just so happens that Eddie, the music guy there, he'd make no bones about it. He'd be like, yeah, because he wanted everybody in the choir. If it was a church of 300, he wanted 300 people in the choir. But anyway.
Okay, so what's been your biggest joy in ministry?
Like ever? Like one single thing? Or over time?
Whichever direction you want to take it. That was my question given, so.
Biggest joy. This is going to blur lines. But if I had to pinpoint one event or one thing in space and time, it would probably be the day that the Sunday service that I baptized my son and daughter at the same time.
Oh, that's cool.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
Andrew did that a couple of weeks ago, and I couldn't hold it together. I mean, I cried, and I needed to go into the water and whatever. But yeah, that was the coolest. That was the coolest moment. So.
Okay. All right. And then this one's going to be hard.
Okay. As if I hadn't failed enough already. Go ahead.
No, you're doing fine. What truth has cost you the most to live out?
Golly, man, that's a good question.
Yeah.
Is that AI?
It might be. Some of them are.
Oh, okay. Okay. Say that again. What
truth has cost you the most to live out?
We might have to edit a long pause here.
Did you know down to like maybe something that has caused you to lose somebody you deeply love and care about? What truth?
I don't know that a truth has cost me that. Somebody that I loved and cared about. I don't know if anybody walked away because of a truth that I held on to. Probably the only thing that I can think of, and I don't really know how to say this because it's not like I don't have hypocrisies, because I most certainly do. I'm not great at everything that I talk about when I'm up there, but I can't be fake. I just can't handle that. I couldn't. And so I can't tell people what they want to hear. And oftentimes, that's terrible. I can't ever, everybody always wants to hear something they're not supposed to hear. But yeah, and so that does cost you over time. You want to make things.
People want to be sugarcoated.
Yeah, and you want to make things better, and yes, people want to be affirmed in whatever it is that they're doing or whatever it is that they think, and all that kind of stuff. And I just can't bring myself to do that. My spiritual gift is prophecy, as I understand prophecy. Prophecy is not telling the future; it's telling the truth. And I can't not do that. I can't get up and give a motivational speech on Sunday mornings. There's no room for that. People don't need to know, like, they don't need my rah-rah, they don't need my cheerleading. They need whatever God said. And sometimes that is rah-rah. I mean, that is, hey, I love you, I encourage you, I'm holding you, there's light at the end of the tunnel, I'm going to make it make sense one day. I can tell them all that, but it's not what a lot of these other people do. So.
Gotcha.
Anyway.
Okay. All right. What's the funniest thing that has ever happened to you in church?
Oh my goodness gracious! Do you realize I'm old? And I spent like every week of my life in church 3 or 4 times a week. Oh, the funniest thing that ever happened in church.
So what's the first one that jumps into your mind?
I remember sitting in the pew and as a teenager laughing. And you know how it is. Who knows what it was? You're just laughing and you're not supposed to, and that's what makes it worse. And so you just laugh. That's what you're doing. 30 minutes, that's what you're doing. But I have no idea what it was that brought us to that point.
Your mama didn't pop you in the head for that?
She's in the choir. They're musical, don't forget. My dad was the organist, so he was up there too.
All you could
But-
think was the next player.
Yeah. But and my brother and sister say I was the Joseph of the family anyway, so they weren't gonna get on me too bad. The funniest thing that happened in church. Oh my goodness. I don't know. I've had a lot of things. I can't remember. I don't know. I've got some stories that might make other people laugh, but I don't know that I had one that I just thought was just hilarious. In church, during church. I guess while I'm the pastor?
I'm guessing, yes. Nobody's ever walked up to give you a donation while you were up there preaching?
No. I've heard some horror stories along those lines, but no. Funny things that have happened. I can't remember just like having a knee split and laughing while I'm up there on the thing. I can't think of anything.
Okay, all right.
I'm sorry to disappoint. That's a good question. But
Man, I was excited for a good answer on that one.
Yes.
Okay.
Probably tonight I'll be sitting in bed and be like, oh yeah, that was great.
Why didn't I share that?
We're going to come back in here. We're going to edit this thing and put it in the middle of it.
Okay, all right. Here's a good one. If you could have anybody from the Bible other than Jesus
Okay.
sitting in this chair for an interview, who would it be?
That I would interview them? Depends on if I'm in a bad mood or not. If I'm in a bad mood, I'm getting Jonah, and I'm raking him over the coals.
See, I identify with Jonah.
Well, no, you're too positive. I mean, you think about the end.
Well,
like
yeah,
it ends,
the end, he kind of
he's still a jerk at the end.
Yeah.
And so I'm raking him over the coals. But probably, I mean, I guess, gosh, it almost sounds like I guess it wouldn't be a no-brainer when you're thinking about Paul and Peter and all those guys too. But it'd probably be David. It would probably be David because David was real. David was a great leader. David both blew it and did some of the most godly stuff that you'll hear about. A man after God's own heart. And you just read the Psalms, and he didn't hold anything back. If he was happy, he told God. If he was ticked off at God, he'd tell God he was ticked off at God. And so, I'm all about somebody who's just who they are. So,
right.
Yeah, I guess it'd be David.
Okay. All right, here's another hard one.
Okay. I have not done well with hard ones.
I know.
All right.
I'm sorry. All right. What's the hardest season of your faith you've walked through, and what did it teach you?
Oh, that's not hard.
Oh, is it not?
No, it's not hard. It's easy. It was before I came here. When I'd been in my last church for 15 years, and I was the pastor for 10 of those. And so just through I know we don't have a whole lot of time, so I can't just sit here and tell the whole story. Nobody wants to hear the whole thing anyway. But basically, I was asked to leave, and it was, it was a small group of people who got in positions of leadership that never should have been there, and that's kind of how it came about. And then, I don't know about a subplot, it might be the main plot, but there was somebody on staff who was, and I'm writing a book about all this, by the way.
Are you really?
I am, yeah. My goal was to have it finished by the end of the year, but I'm not doing too good at that. But there was somebody on staff that I had brought on staff, and he was not my son in the faith, like what Paul talks about. But he was my son in ministry. Like, he surrendered to ministry under me, came in, served with me and all that. And he was one of the ones who, in some form or fashion, he turned on me. And I didn't pursue knowing all the details about that.
Sometimes it's better not to know.
Yeah. I mean, at the very least, he could have stopped the whole thing. And at worst, he could have instigated it, and it was probably somewhere in the middle of those two. So yeah. In fact, I have talked about this on Sundays too, and I try not to talk about it too much because it's too, it's almost too honest. But not only once I left there, not only did I not want to go back into ministry, not only did I not want to do what I'm doing now, but I wanted out. Like, I just wanted to walk away from God and everybody. And I didn't want to go do stupid stuff. I didn't want to go get drunk, or I didn't want to go kill people or do any ridiculous thing like that. There was no sin that I wanted to go commit. I just had enough of God. And which makes it all the more, I can see me having to tell the committee here. I can see me telling them that. They'd be like, oh, yeah, no, we'll go on to the next guy. But I tried to find something else to do. I mean, I looked and I applied, and I surfed the internet. I did everything to try to find something else to do. Nothing. And so that kind of gave my answer. And it all comes back to I say this kind of often, but I know what I'm talking about when I say you can either be bitter with God, or you can be bitter without God. And my thought kept going back to the disciple. I can't even remember the whole story now, but everybody left Jesus, and so Jesus looked at his apostles and he said, "Are y'all going to leave too?" I mean, like, it's almost like now's your chance if you're going to get out. And one of them looked back and said, well, who else are we going to go to? Like, where else can we go? And that's pretty much the only thing, even though it was, I guess, it was a little bit different application in my life. That was the only thing that held me, was like, okay, if I leave God, what am I going to go to? You know? And the answer to that is nothing. And you're a fool if you think that there is anything else that is going to anchor your life. And so anyway, did I answer the question?
You did good. Yeah.
I'm kind of finished with that one.
Okay. All right. Moving on. All right. Who do you think will win the Masters this week? I
haven't kept up with golf at all, not a bit this year.
Really?
It's not going to be Tiger. Yeah, so I don't know who's hot right now, and I think that really does have a lot to do with it, because golf is, I mean, it's up here, man, and
it's a mind game.
All those people, all those guys that are in there, they can all hit the ball, they can stroke it, they can get to the green in the time they need to. They can not all of them can putt, but most of them can do that. A ton of them can. It's just, are they ready up here? And so, if they've been doing well, they just have a better shot. I don't know that there has been a recent winner that was doing terrible when they walked in and all of a sudden they turned a corner. So I can't answer that. I just don't know. But
okay.
Whoever's been playing well, that's who's going to win.
That's who's going to win.
Yes.
Fair answer, I guess. All right. All right. If you were a superhero, what would your superpower be?
We asked Mark that.
Yeah.
We did. What would my superpower be? Gosh, y'all should have narrowed that down and given me some choices out of this, multiple choice.
All right, okay.
It ain't going to be flying, because I don't want to go high.
X-ray vision.
Oh, gosh, no.
What? Super strength? Yeah, that's a good one. Flash, like running really fast.
Can I scrap those? I would want to read people's minds. That's what I would want to be able to do.
Oh, yeah.
That would be scary, though.
It would, it would, but it'd be fun, man. It'd be fun.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't see how Jesus didn't use that more. You know, he used it. You'd like, I know y'all are talking about this. I don't know why he didn't do that more. I mean, that'd just be fun. Be like, oh, is that really what you think? Here, let me just play with you for a bit. I don't know. But
yeah, but see,
that's why I'm not
that's
God.
You,
yeah, that's why I'm not Jesus. That's right. Yeah. But
Yes.
it sure would be fun. So.
Yes. All right. What does it actually look like to trust God when life doesn't make sense?
What does it look like? Mm-hmm. Well,
how do you do it?
Oh, no, those are two different questions. Because what it looks like is it looks like obedience. That's what it looks like.
Okay.
Like, even when it doesn't make sense, you're still going to do it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there has to come a time, you know, we live in a stupid age where psychologists think they know everything, and they're so far off. You know, you don't tell kids just because I said so. Well, shut up. Yeah, you do. I mean, like, sometimes you have to. Like, there's the only that you can't make sense out of it. You just, this because I said so. That should be good enough. And so that's how we are with God. Sometimes it doesn't make sense, and it's not fair, and so you do it just because he said so. But that's what it looks like. Now, how? That's a whole different story. That's a different question. Because then you gotta turn back on faith. You gotta ask yourself who's smarter in this equation. You know, me and what I see, or a God who thinks something totally different, and wants me to do
everything.
and wants me to see something and wants me to do something different. You know, who's got a better vantage point? You know, you gotta convince yourself of that. But honestly, most of our ability to handle difficult times, whether it's death or disillusionment or whatever, confusion and all that kind of stuff, most of the answer to that comes in advance. It's like what you build before you ever get there.
Gotcha.
But usually we wait till the crisis hits and then we're like, oh gosh, what do I do? Well, here's what you should have done a year ago. But anyway, but again, that's the prophet in me, just like telling the truth. Like that's why I'm a terrible counselor. Nobody wants to come to me for counseling. They just don't.
I mean, I wouldn't want to hear that.
Yeah, well, I mean, counselors are supposed to like drag it out of people, and get them to lead them to the answer and make them think that they discovered the answer. I ain't got time for all that. No,
That
like,
made me think of a question.
okay, all right, we got an audience question.
As a counselor
Yes.
and as a pastor, you hear all kinds of stories from people. Some pretty light and some, pretty deep and heavy, sad, whatever. How do you deal with that when you leave that? How do you not let that affect the rest of your life when you leave? What do you do?
Wait, okay, so the question is when I hear stories, good, bad, indifferent, some big, some small, how does that affect my life when I leave what? When I leave ministry or leave the church?
When you leave work and you go home.
Oh.
How do you leave it in the office and not take it with
Oh,
you?
I don't really struggle with that, honestly, because I'm dumb. I mean, I don't know how else to tell you. Because number one, I'm a guy, and guys naturally know how to compartmentalize. Like we got our little drawers over here. This is my church drawer. This is my Andrea drawer. This is my Sunday school. This is my preaching. This is my pastoring and all that. And so you just have these little drawers and I do that well. Now, whether or not that's good, I'm not saying that's good. I just do that well. And so I can leave that stuff behind. It also hurts me though, because if you were to come to me and tell me a story tonight, as soon as we're finished, you tell me a story, great heartbreaker or whatever. When I see you on Sunday, it's not that I don't remember it. It's that I don't see you. You're probably going to see me as I just confided in him this deep thing going on in my life. When I look at you, I'm not going to see that. I'm going to see, hey, this is a person who's here at church. She's about to go to Sunday school. Then she's going to come into the church service and those kind of things. And then it'd be like, oh yeah, and also she told me that other thing. But that might be after you walk away. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, okay, now I see why she was like that. I remember because she told me this. And so it does hurt me, that compartmentalization does. But I also found that I have to do that. I mean, I have to, because I got people who think it's a good idea for some reason to come tell me some crisis or something that they don't like, something they're unhappy about or whatever right before church. And I don't know why they think that's a good idea, but people just don't think, or they don't care. And so I've got it. Like I got 100 other people in here. I got 100 other people that I got to get up and talk to, and not let this one person, ruin my whole mindset of stuff. So I don't know. Did I even answer your question? I can't even remember what the question is now. I talk too much.
What can we, as your church family, do for you to support you? What's the biggest thing that we can do?
That's a good one.
What can the church family do to support me? Well,
and Jennifer.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Yes.
And that's, okay, so that would be way up on the list because there's nobody. There are very few churches that don't care for the pastor's wife unless the pastor makes it happen. And then when the pastor does that, it looks like it's self-serving. And so I think maybe the first church that we were in really cared for my wife. And I wasn't even the pastor of that church. They really cared for my wife, but they cared for the whole staff. I mean, they were all about like caring about staff and following staff and supporting staff, and they were just great. And so, yeah, I mean, if you support my wife and you support my kids, I'm good. That would be the first part. Obviously, I need prayer because I'm in spiritual battles as much as everybody else is. And so I need that, and then I just need people to do what God has called them to do. Honestly, I don't need somebody to think, hey, does Lane want a bag? Well, I can't say I do want you to think, does Lane want a bag of chocolate too? So I do want you to think about that. But I don't need you really thinking about me so much as what does God want me to do for Emmanuel Baptist Church? And when you're thinking about that, you're either going to come and ask me, or something is going to speak to you in a message, or even an announcement or something like that, and you're going to step up to the plate, and then those are three big things. Take care of my family. And listen, this church, that first one, the church has done a lot for, they've done more than they should when it came to a certain segment of my life. When it came to Natalie, there were a couple of times where she would have I think she'd have a game for school. I know, I can give you one example. I know right off the top of my head. She had a game on Wednesday night for Calvary, and that she was playing in, and I got here, and somebody said something about where's Natalie or whatever. And it's like, well, she's got a game, and church was about to start. It's like, and the person said, what are you doing here? And I'm like, well, I'm supposed to be here. This is why this is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so the church has gone over and above when it comes to supporting that kind of thing. I have never heard a single complaint about the vacation time that I have. Of course, it's all within the structure. It's all there. But I've been at churches before where you get a certain number of days off. If you take those certain number of days off, somebody's going to complain, and that's dumb. But it happens. But this church has not ever been anything like that. I keep going back to, what are you doing here? I was just kind of blown away that I was even asked that question. The pastor here on Wednesday night, why are you here? Well, because I'm the pastor. So, but anyway, it just shows that people have cared about me being a good husband and dad. So, yeah.
Okay, which book of the Bible is the hardest for most people to comprehend?
Well, obviously Revelation would be in that, but honestly, probably if more people read Ezekiel, we would have to have counseling every week, because people would be so spaced out, because Ezekiel was weird, man. It's weird. And honestly, I don't know that people really grasp all that there is in the book of Romans. I think parts of it scare them, or it is so methodical and so, I hate to say academic, but it's so theological that some people breeze over it and they don't really understand what they're reading, and they don't realize that they don't understand. At least in the book of Revelation, you're reading about, animal with 25 eyes all around his body, and they're like, what in the world? And so
Seals and trumpets.
Yes. So, but, yeah.
Okay, all right.
We're going till you say stop. This is your show.
I figure we're about done, but I'm going to ask this one because it's a really good one, and it's something that our church really needs to think about.
Okay.
Tell us about how you view the church getting outside the four walls of the building, and what projects do we need to take on outside the church building?
So, read the first part of that again. How'd you word that?
Tell us about how you view the church getting outside the four walls.
Okay, all right. I think that's, how can I'm trying to figure out the strongest way possible to say this. That I don't think that the church was designed to be inside four walls at all. The church was created without any walls. The church didn't have its own building, and it just so happens that was when it was at its best. Now, the problem with me is I'm a product of my upbringing. I'm a product of my culture and all that kind of stuff. I would have a hard time envisioning a church without a church building. But I also wonder if God's greatest gift to us would be if something came and destroyed all the church buildings, so we would have to start over like it did in the book of Acts. So the church is designed to be outside the four walls of the church. This is supposed to just be temporary. And so what projects on the outside? Well, and probably one of the failures of mine here where we are is we probably are too focused on the building that we're in. I mean, we gotta fix it, we gotta clean it, we gotta fill it up, and all that kind of stuff. That's the normal way of looking at stuff. But really, we should be looking at stuff that we can do out. So that's why when the college people came and we went and did, door to door, we prayer walked and just talked to people in the neighborhood. That should be a regular, honestly. But I tell you right now, and it's no knock on this church. It's churches everywhere. Like, if I was just a normal church member, I'd probably fall in the same category. If that was something that we did on a regular basis, either weekly or even monthly, we would start out with 25 people. We'd be all excited about that. And by the same time the next year, we would probably be down to 7 or 8. That's just how it goes. When you're talking about something that is outreach oriented like that, it's hard to sustain that. And I'm sorry. I need to back up because I've got blinders on. It's hard for me to make that sustainable. There are other pastors who are better than I am, who are better leaders than I am, who somehow are able to do that. But I'm not one of them. And so there are some projects that we should do more of that are outside the four walls. We should do Vacation Bible School in community. The old school is we call that Backyard Bible Club.
Right.
I don't care what you call it. I mean, you get whatever name you want to. Vacation Bible School is an old name. Sunday School is an old name. I don't care what you call it. I mean, it's the same thing. It's small group Bible study. It's Kids Week. I mean, you call it whatever you want. I don't care. But we should be doing those in some neighborhoods, in some people's yards, and inviting the neighborhood kids to come do that. And so, and I think, honestly, I don't know that it's so much as church projects that we should be about as much as we should be living our lives. As you go, share the gospel. I've used this before, and yes, we're going to go over. Sorry, Mark, if you're watching. But my mind goes to when Jesus said, he told his disciples, he said, "You're going to be my witnesses, Jerusalem, Judea, Samaria, and the uttermost parts of the earth." And so he sends them off to do their thing. They're all having their little holy huddle there in Jerusalem until Paul shows up, and Paul kills Stephen. Well, not personally, but he has it done. And so then Paul decides he's going to be a great evangelist. He's a great evangelist because he goes door to door. He just happens to be going door to door to kill people. So it depends on what you're passionate about, And so the Christians get all, they're all up in arms, as they would be. I mean, I'd be running for my life too. And so they're running for their lives because they're about to die or could die, go to jail, lose their job, lose their house, whatever, lose their family because they're Christians. And so that's in chapter 4, 5, somewhere in there. By the time you get to chapter 8, it's the meanwhile back at the ranch moment, because he says, "And those who were scattered because of the persecution of Stephen." And it says that they went from city to city sharing the faith. And I think that the church is best served when the church doesn't have to come up with program after program after program, but the church members get on fire for doing what God has called them to do as they go. And when they do that, that's when you really are going to have the healthiest church. So anyway, I could keep talking, but I'm not going to.
Makes sense. All right, I guess close us out in prayer and...
Okay. All right. Well, let's pray then. God, do help us to be the church that you called us to be. There's so much complexity about that, and yet there's also simplicity. You've given us a few set of commands that we just need to be caring about, and so may it be about your business. And I pray specifically for Emmanuel Baptist Church. I thank you for allowing me to be here at this time, and And I pray your blessings upon the people who come and the people who are in this area and all who call themselves a part of this church. And may we be about your business. And so, Lord, I just thank you for the time that we have to just kind of learn from one another and talk with each other and strengthen one another and sharpen one another. May that be what happens every time we get together, every Sunday, Wednesday, and then every other time that your people join together. And now as we go about our business for the rest of this week, as we are gearing up towards Sunday, just make us aware of the divine intersections that you put in our lives and help us to take advantage of those and help us to be good examples and be good witnesses for you so that when we get back together, we'll be able to celebrate what you have done in and through us. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen. All right. Thanks for joining in with us. Be back next week. See y'all Sunday, if not sooner.